So when the OnePlus 7 Pro was launched, there weren't really that many complaints about the device and the hardware at least. It had a really great screen, the 90Hz refresh rate, a flagship processor, a great design all around, a really great package overall. However, there were a sizable amount of people that didn't really fall in love with the cameras. Whilst I actually think the cameras did a really good job, and I tested that phone a lot against all of the competition, and I thought it held up really well. Not to mention the raft of updates that OnePlus pushed to the device pretty quickly after it launched, making the camera much better than what it was when it first came to market. But the fact remains that the camera really is one of the areas it needs to focus on the most to upgrade, to bring it more in line with other real flagship phones, which is what OnePlus wants its Pro devices to be. Well, it looks like OnePlus have been listening. Thanks to a blog post today, we got a lot of information about what OnePlus have been working on in regards to the camera. In the blog post, OnePlus addressed all of the issues that its users gave it with regards to the camera and video recording. Coming to exposure, white balance, and color science across all of its cameras, OnePlus said their main goal is to have consistency in color and exposure, no matter what camera you use, whether it's the main, the ultra wide, or the telephoto. This is a huge problem in virtually every single Android phone that I have ever used. It seems to be less of a problem specifically in the iPhone 11 because it uses the same camera sensor for all of its cameras. But on most Android phones, when you switch between the ultra wide or the zoom, you can just get a completely different exposure or just completely different colors than if you were using the main, and that just isn't really great. It is, however, very good to know that OnePlus are working to make this much better. Another problem that users faced, and again, this is not just unique to OnePlus, but seems to plague most Chinese branded smartphones, is color tones, specifically skin tones and artificial sharpening. OnePlus have again said this is a top priority for them, with particular focus on natural skin tones. Luckily, this is something that can be improved through a software update, so if OnePlus do improve this, they can put this out to current users of OnePlus devices. You won't have to buy a new phone to get the update. When it comes to HDR or high dynamic range images, this is something that has been used in photography in smartphones for a very long time and is now coming to video. OnePlus said they're working on this too. One of the massive advantages that the iPhone has over Android phones is just how good it is at using HDR when recording video. It gives the entire scene a much better look. Everything looks properly exposed. The colors are great, adds some stabilization in there, and that's why the iPhone really is the gold standard for video. But it does look like OnePlus want to add this feature too. They have said they're specifically working on HDR for video. They have not said, however, whether this can be a simple software update pushed out to older devices, or whether they need to use the new image processor in the upcoming Snapdragon 865. It also looks like the camera app in general is in for some updates. It will be easier to use, quicker to open, also have a faster shutter, and they will rejig the layout of the settings menus and the zoom menu so that it will be easier in one-handed usage. Something that will be limited to new devices though is the ability to record 4K on more than one of the lenses, and also stabilization for 4K. Both 4K video recording and electronic image stabilization are limited by the hardware in the camera, namely the camera sensors and also the processor used. This cannot be updated via software, and so to get these improvements, you will have to wait for the new crop of OnePlus flagship phones. Overall, it's really good to hear OnePlus not just listening to feedback and its customers, but also being open about how it's trying to improve things. It will go a long way for them, but it's also great for us to hear how they're trying to improve our devices. Subscribe for all the latest tech news and tech videos. That's it for now, but I'll see you in the next one.